Hey, everybody, and welcome to another deep dive with us. We're going to be taking all the great research that you sent us and kind of digesting it all and getting to the good stuff, the stuff that you can actually use to improve your English.
Yes, definitely. And you sent us this PDF, Why Your English is Not Improving.
Yeah.
We're going to go through that today.
We are. Okay. And, sometimes you can feel a little stuck.
Yes.
When you're learning English and it feels like you're not progressing as fast as you want.
Absolutely.
And so hopefully today,
yes,
we can give you a few tips to break through that.
Definitely some strategies and some tips.
Okay, so let's jump right in.
Yeah, let's get started.
The first thing the PDF talks about is goals and the importance of having clear goals.
Yes.
And it's so true.
Yeah.
If you think about it, have you ever tried to go on like a road trip without deciding where you're going?
That's a great analogy.
You're just going to end up driving around in circles.
Exactly. You're going to be lost.
Right. And so it's the same with learning English.
Yeah.
If you don't have a specific goal in mind, you could lose motivation and kind of feel lost.
Yeah, it can be really overwhelming to just say, okay, I want to improve my English.
Right.
But how are you going to get there?
Yeah.
What are the steps you need to take?
Exactly. And so the PDF suggests setting what are called SMART goals. And these are goals that are SMART.
Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
Right. So it's not just enough to say, I want to be fluent.
Right.
You have to have specific things that you're aiming at.
Yeah. So instead of saying, I want to improve my English, you can say, I want to have a 5-minute conversation with my neighbor.
Right.
Or I want to be able to read a children's book. Or I want to understand a movie.
Right.
So it's those specific things that will help you to see that progress.
Yeah. Break it down into those little steps.
Yes, exactly.
So instead of, I want to improve my English, a SMART goal might be something like, I want to learn 5 new words every week and use them in simple sentences every day.
Yeah, I love that. And then you can actually check those off your list and feel that progress.
Exactly. And feel good about how far you've come.
Exactly.
And I think it's really important to think about.
If you're enjoying this podcast, don't forget to like the video. Share it with friends who might find it helpful. Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss our next video. Let us know in the comments what topic you'd like to hear.
What you want to achieve with English.
Yeah.
So, maybe you want to have simple conversations with your neighbors, or you want to be able to read children's books to your kids.
Right.
Or, you want to understand your favorite English movies.
Absolutely.
So it's really important to make sure that your goals reflect what's important to you.
Yeah. What are you passionate about?
Now, let's talk about something that can be a little bit tricky, especially for beginners. Grammar.
Yes.
I know it can be tempting to focus on all those rules.
It's important, but
It is important, but
we don't want to get too bogged down.
right, the PDF makes a really interesting point that sometimes thinking too much about grammar while you're speaking
Yeah.
can actually make it harder to be fluent.
Yes. It's like overthinking every step when you're dancing.
Right.
You end up looking really stiff and unnatural. Yeah.
The same thing happens when you're speaking if you're thinking too much about the grammar.
Totally. I remember when I was first learning Spanish, I was so worried about making mistakes with the verb conjugations
Oh, yeah.
that I would just freeze up, that I wouldn't be able to say anything.
Yeah, I totally understand that. It's kind of like stage fright almost.
Oh, right. It is. And
You
so
just kind of get in your head about it.
Yeah.
But it's important to remember that it's okay to make mistakes.
Right.
Everybody does,
Yeah.
especially when you're learning.
So the key is to find a balance between, studying grammar
Yes.
and practicing speaking freely.
Mm-hmm.
So set aside some time to study grammar,
Yes.
but when you're actually speaking, just try to relax and focus on expressing yourself,
Absolutely.
even if you make a few mistakes along the way.
Because you'll learn from those mistakes.
Exactly.
Like you said earlier, mistakes are part of the learning process.
They are. All right. So let's talk about something that I think a lot of English learners struggle with, and that is translating. Yes.
Translating word for word from their native language.
Yeah.
Have you ever noticed how sometimes when you translate directly, it just sounds a bit off?
It sounds unnatural and a little robotic.
Yes, it does.
And that's because the sentence structure in English is very different from other languages.
Right.
So you can't just translate word for word.
Right. And so the PDF suggests trying to think in English.
Yes.
And now that might sound a little difficult.
It might, but it's easier than it sounds.
Right.
Because you can start with very small things. Like,
Yes.
when you look around your house,
Yeah.
just start thinking of the words in English.
Right. Instead of translating them.
Yes, and instead of translating them,
Like, for example, if you see a dog, Instead of mentally translating the word dog into your native language, just think dog.
Yes, exactly.
That's a really good tip.
Yeah, because it's helping you to create that picture in your mind connected with the word in English.
Instead of going through that translation process. Yeah. And so that leads us to our next point, which is speaking practice.
Absolutely.
Now, I know that can feel really scary, especially when you're a beginner.
Yeah, it can be intimidating.
Yeah.
But it's so important.
It is.
And the more you do it, the better you'll get.
Exactly. And the more confident you'll feel.
Absolutely.
Think of it like learning to ride a bike. You wouldn't expect to just hop on and be able to ride perfectly.
Right. You're going to fall a few times.
You're going to fall a few times.
Or you're going to wobble.
Exactly. But the more you practice, the better you get at it.
Yes, exactly.
And so the PDF suggests finding opportunities to practice speaking every day.
Every day.
Even if it's just for a few minutes.
Yeah, because even a little bit is better than nothing.
So what kind of things can people do?
Well, you can describe what you're doing as you go about your day.
Like, I'm making dinner.
Yeah, exactly.
I am washing the dishes.
Right.
I'm walking the dog.
And you can also read aloud from a simple book.
Okay.
Or even talk to yourself in the mirror. All of these things will help you to improve.
Yeah, they sound like really great tips.
Yeah, and you can even record yourself.
Ooh, that's a good idea.
And then listen back to it and hear how you sound.
And then you can kind of hear your mistakes too.
Yeah, you can pinpoint the areas where you need to improve.
Okay, cool. All right, so speaking of making mistakes, the PDF also talks about the difference between passive and active learning.
Yes, and this is an important distinction.
And, you know, it's kind of like the difference between watching someone cook on TV and actually getting in the kitchen and preparing a meal yourself.
Right, you can watch all the cooking shows you want.
Right.
But you're not going to become a chef unless you get in there and start chopping vegetables.
Exactly. And it's the same with English.
Absolutely.
You can listen to all the podcasts in the world and watch all the movies.
Yeah.
But unless you're actually speaking and using the language, you're not going to become fluent.
You need to be active.
So how can we turn that passive learning into active practice?
Well, after you listen to a podcast, for example, try summarizing what you heard out loud.
In your own words.
In your own words.
Okay.
Or if you watch a movie, write a few sentences about it.
Okay.
Or even just repeat phrases and sentences that you hear
Okay.
to practice pronunciation.
Okay. Those are really good tips.
Yeah, it's all about making it active.
Okay, cool. Now let's talk about vocabulary.
Yes.
The PDF points out that even if you know a lot of words, that doesn't mean you're using them effectively.
That's right. It's like having a toolbox full of tools,
Right.
but you never use them to build or fix anything.
Exactly.
You need to actually practice using those words in real life situations.
Yeah, like if you learn a new word like delicious, don't just memorize it. Try to use it throughout the week to describe different foods you eat.
Yeah, make it a part of your everyday language.
Right.
And there's also a technique called spaced repetition
Okay.
that can be really helpful for remembering new words.
What is that?
So it involves reviewing words at increasing intervals.
So it's like giving your brain little reminders
Yes, exactly. Little reminders about the words you've learned.
so you don't forget them.
Yes. And there are lots of apps and websites that can help you with this.
Like flashcards. or-
Flashcards. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm definitely going to try that.
Yeah, it's a great way to build your vocabulary.
And speaking of trying things, I think it's important to remember that consistency is key
Absolutely.
when it comes to learning English.
Yes, the PDF emphasizes that even short daily practice is more effective than trying to cram everything in once a week.
Yeah, it's like exercise. It's like exercise,
It's
except...
better to go for a short walk every day than to run a marathon once a month.
Exactly. And it's the same with learning English.
Right, so even if you only have 15 or 20 minutes each day, make it a habit to do something
Yes, create a routine.
related to English, whether it's reading
Mm-hmm.
or listening or practicing vocabulary. Absolutely. Find something that you enjoy and make it a part of your daily routine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's important to acknowledge that learning a new language can be challenging,
Yes, it can be.
especially when you're first starting out.
It's natural to feel a little nervous or even scared.
I've definitely been there.
Yeah, it's okay to feel that way.
Yeah,
But it's important to remember that everyone makes mistakes,
everyone.
even native English speakers.
Right.
It's part of being human.
Yeah, and, you know, it's like learning to ride a bike. You're going to fall a few times,
Exactly.
but that's how you learn to balance.
Yeah, and eventually you'll be writing smoothly.
Exactly.
So don't be afraid to make mistakes.
And don't be afraid to speak,
Yes.
even if you're not sure if you're saying everything perfectly.
it's better to try and make mistakes.
Right.
than to not try at all.
Exactly. And the PDF suggests finding supportive communities.
Yes.
Where you can practice speaking with other English learners without feeling judged.
Yes. Find a place where you feel comfortable.
Like an online group.
Yeah, there are lots of great online communities.
A local language exchange.
Yeah, you can meet people in person.
Or even just a friend who's also learning English.
Absolutely.
Right? It's so much easier to learn when you have people around you who are encouraging and supportive.
Absolutely.
Okay, now let's talk about one of the best ways to improve your pronunciation and get a feel for natural English.
Okay, what's that?
And that is to listen to native speakers.
Yes, this is so important.
It is.
Because it helps you to get a feel for the rhythm and the intonation of the language.
And it's like learning a song, right?
Yes.
If you only ever listen to a cover version, you might miss some of the nuances
Right.
of the original artist's performance.
Exactly.
So it's important to expose yourself to that original English as much as possible.
Yes, as much as you can.
And there's so many easy ways to do that. You can listen to podcasts.
Yeah.
You can watch movies and TV shows.
Absolutely.
You can listen to English songs. You can even follow English speakers on social media.
Yes, all great ways to immerse yourself.
And speaking of immersion, the PDF mentions a technique called shadowing.
Oh, yes. This is a great technique.
What is that?
So basically, you listen to a short phrase or sentence spoken by a native speaker,
Uh-huh.
and then you repeat it exactly as you hear it,
Okay.
trying to copy their rhythm and intonation.
It's like you're trying to become their vocal shadow.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Like you said, it might feel strange at first,
Yeah.
but it's a great way to train your ear and to improve your pronunciation.
Okay, wow, we covered a lot of ground already.
Yeah, we have.
I feel like I'm already seeing my English learning journey in a whole new light.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that.
And I think one of the most important things is to remember to be patient with yourself.
Yes, patience is key.
Language learning takes time,
It does.
and it's a journey with ups and downs.
Absolutely.
And it's important to celebrate those small victories along the way.
Yes, don't forget to celebrate those small wins.
Right, and don't compare yourself to others.
Yeah, everyone learns at their own pace.
Everyone does.
Yeah.
So that is a great place to pause. For now, I think we've talked about a lot of really great things.
Yeah.
Setting goals, overcoming that fear of making mistakes, practicing speaking, immersing yourself in real English.
Absolutely.
And in the next part of our deep dive, we'll explore some additional strategies to help you break through those plateaus
Yes, we'll have some more tips and tricks.
and continue making progress in your English learning journey.
We'll see you soon.
See you soon.
If you're enjoying this podcast, don't forget to like the video. Share it with friends who might find it helpful. Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss our next video. Let us know in the comments what topic you'd like to hear.
Welcome back, everybody, to our deep dive. We're continuing to look at your research and pull out the good stuff.
Yes, and I'm so excited to learn even more tips.
Okay.
Before the break, we were talking about listening to native speakers and how important that is to really improve your pronunciation. And the PDF suggests a technique called shadowing.
Yeah, shadowing is a great technique.
Yeah, can you tell us a little more about that?
Yeah, so shadowing is basically you're listening to a short phrase or a sentence spoken by a native speaker, and then you try to repeat it.
Okay.
Trying to copy their pronunciation and their intonation as closely as possible. So it's really like you're creating an echo of their voice.
Wow, that sounds like it could be really challenging, but also really helpful.
It can be challenging at first, but it gets easier with practice.
Okay, so what are some tips for someone who wants to try shadowing?
Well, I would say start with short, simple phrases and then gradually work your way up to longer sentences
Okay.
and choose audio or video clips with clear, easy to understand speech.
Okay, so it's something that's easy to hear.
Yeah, like, podcasts for English learners or even children's stories can be really good for this.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, and just be patient with yourself. It takes time and practice to get good at it.
Right, and I think it's encouraging to know that even though it feels maybe a little bit awkward at first,
Yeah.
that you will start to improve over time.
You absolutely will. Your ear will get used to it and you'll start to sound more and more like a native speaker.
So speaking of feeling awkward, the PDF also talks about, not being afraid to make mistakes.
Yeah, that's really important.
It is.
We have to remember that everyone makes mistakes, even native speakers.
Everyone.
Yeah, it's just a part of learning.
I know, and it can be really discouraging.
Yeah.
When you're trying your best to speak and then you just stumble over your words or you make a grammar mistake or something.
Absolutely. I think we've all been there.
I know, I've been there. It's like,
Yeah.
you know the word that you want to say, but you just can't get it out.
Yeah, your brain freezes.
Yes.
It happens to all of us.
But I really like how the PDF talks about how mistakes are actually a really valuable part of the learning process.
Yeah, they really are, because they help us to see where we need to improve.
It's like they're little signposts that tell you, hey, you need to work on this a little bit more.
Exactly. So instead of getting discouraged when you make a mistake, think of it as an opportunity to learn and grow. Yeah. Every time you make a mistake, you're getting a little bit closer to understanding how the language works.
So don't be afraid to speak up.
Yes, don't be shy.
Even if you're not sure if you're saying it perfectly.
Because it's better to try and make a mistake than to not try at all.
Right. And the PDF also suggests finding supportive communities where you can practice speaking without feeling judged.
Yes, that's so important.
Whether that's an online group or a local language exchange.
Or even just a friend.
Right. Or a family.
Just someone who you can practice with.
Without feeling like they're judging you.
Exactly. Because when you feel comfortable and supported, you're more likely to make progress.
Yeah, and it's also really important to surround yourself with the English language as much as possible.
Yes, immersion is key.
So what are some easy ways that we can do that?
Well, you can listen to podcasts designed for English learners.
Oh.
You can watch movies and TV shows, maybe with subtitles at first.
Okay.
Read children's books. Graded readers listen to English songs.
I love that.
Yeah.
You can even follow English speakers on social media.
Yes. All of these things will help to expose you to the language.
And it makes it more fun, too.
Absolutely.
It doesn't feel like studying.
Yeah.
It just feels like you're enjoying.
Yeah, like you're enjoying yourself.
Right.
And that's really important.
Yeah, and the PDF also talks about, being patient with yourself.
Yes. Patience is so important.
It is, because it's a journey. It takes time.
It does.
You're not going to become fluent overnight.
No, it's a gradual process.
But it's important to celebrate those small victories along the way.
Absolutely celebrate every win.
Yeah, like if you learned a new word today,
Yeah.
or if you were able to understand a simple conversation, those are all reasons to be proud of yourself.
Absolutely. Give yourself a pat on the back.
Yeah.
Because every little step counts.
It's so easy to get caught up in what we haven't achieved yet.
Yeah.
That we forget to look back and see how far we've come.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that everyone learns at their own pace.
Yes.
So don't compare yourself to others.
Right.
Just focus on your own progress and celebrate your own wins.
I love that. And, as we're going through these tips in the PDF, I'm realizing how important it is to not just passively consume the English content,
Yeah.
but to really actively engage with it.
Yes, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
It's the difference between watching a movie and actually playing a game.
Right.
When you're watching a movie, you're observing, but you're not really participating. But when you're playing a game, you're involved, you're making decisions, you're using the language in a meaningful way.
Right. So how can we turn that passive learning into more active practice?
Well, there are a lot of different ways you can do that.
Okay.
For example, if you're listening to a podcast,
Yeah?
try pausing it every few minutes
Okay.
and summarizing what you just heard out loud in your own words.
Okay, in English.
In English, yes.
Okay.
Or if you're watching a movie, try to describe what's happening on the screen.
Okay.
Or describe the characters.
Right.
And even just repeating phrases and sentences out loud can help you to internalize the sounds of the language.
Okay, those are really good tips.
Yeah, it's all about finding ways to make it more interactive.
And one of the things that I've struggled with in the past is just feeling overwhelmed
Yeah.
by all the different resources and methods.
I understand it can be really overwhelming.
Like, where do I even start?
Right.
And the PDF really encourages us to experiment and to find what works best for us as individuals.
Yes, because everyone learns differently.
Exactly.
Some people learn best by seeing things.
Yeah.
Some people learn best by listening. Some people need to move around
Right.
and be more active.
So it's all about finding what works for you.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to try different things.
And I think it's also important to remember that learning English should be fun.
Absolutely. It should be enjoyable.
If you're not enjoying it, you're less likely to stick with it.
Exactly. So find ways to make it fun for yourself.
Yeah.
Watch movies that you love.
Yeah.
Listen to music that you enjoy. Read books that are interesting to you.
I think that's a perfect place to pause for now.
Okay.
We've talked about shadowing, overcoming the fear of making mistakes, creating that immersive learning environment,
Yes.
and finding joy in the learning process.
Absolutely.
And in the final part of our deep dive, we're going to explore some additional strategies to make the most of your English learning journey.
We'll have some more tips to help you stay motivated and keep making progress.
and some final words of encouragement.
Yes, we'll be back soon.
If you're enjoying this podcast, don't forget to like the video. Share it with friends who might find it helpful. Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss our next video. Let us know in the comments what topic you'd like to hear.
Welcome back to the show, everyone, for the final part of our deep dive. We've been talking all about how to break through those plateaus in your English learning, and I, for one, have learned a lot.
Yes, me too. There's been some really great information in this PDF.
Definitely. And before the break, we were talking about, how everyone learns in different ways. And the PDF made a really good point that it's not enough to just passively learn. You have to actively use the language.
Yes, absolutely. It's not enough to just, read books and listen to podcasts. You have to actually speak the language.
Right. It's like you were saying before, it's like having a bike in your garage.
Exactly. You can look at it all you want,
Right.
but it's not going to get you anywhere unless you actually get on it and write it.
Exactly. And the PDF suggests finding ways to just incorporate English into your everyday life, even if it's just for a few minutes each day.
Right. So how can we make English a more active part of our routines?
Right. How can we do that?
Well, one thing you can do is start thinking in English.
Okay.
So instead of mentally translating everything into your native language, try to describe your surroundings, your thoughts, your actions in English.
Okay, so like I'm walking to the kitchen, I'm opening the refrigerator.
Exactly. Yes. And you can even talk to yourself in English.
Talk to myself.
Yes, it might feel a little silly at first, but it's a great way to practice your pronunciation and to just get comfortable with the sounds of the language.
Okay, I like that. And the PDF also talks about, not just understanding individual words, but also understanding how those words work together to form sentences and to express meaning.
Right. It's like putting together a puzzle.
Oh.
You need all the pieces to fit together correctly.
And so grammar is like the rules of the puzzle.
Exactly. Grammar is the set of rules that helps us to put the words together in the right order so that they make sense.
So how can we improve our understanding of grammar?
Well, of course, there are traditional methods like textbooks and workbooks.
Right.
But there are also lots of more interactive resources available now.
Oh, cool.
Like online quizzes, games, and videos that make learning grammar more fun and engaging.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, you can even find apps that help you to practice grammar on the go.
Okay, cool. And, I think it's also important to remember that learning a new language is a journey.
Yes, absolutely. It's not a race.
It's not going to happen overnight.
No, it takes time and it takes effort.
But the important thing is to just keep moving forward.
Right, even if it's just one small step at a time.
Exactly, and celebrate those small victories along the way.
Yes, don't forget to celebrate your progress no matter how small it may seem.
Like if you learned a new grammar rule today.
Yes.
Or if you were able to have a short conversation in English.
Absolutely.
Those are all reasons to be proud of yourself.
Exactly, so give yourself a pat on the back.
I like that. And, as we're wrapping up this deep dive, do you have any final words of encouragement for our listener who's on this journey to improve their English?
Learning a new language can be challenging, but it's also incredibly rewarding.
It is.
It opens up new possibilities for communication and connection and understanding. And it's a wonderful way to expand your horizons and to experience the world in a new way.
So to everyone listening out there, keep practicing, keep exploring, keep believing in yourself.
Yes, you can do it.
I love that. Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing all of your wonderful insights.
It's been my pleasure.
And to our listeners, we hope this deep dive has been helpful and encouraging. Remember, you're not alone on this journey. There are so many resources available to help you, and we're here to support you every step of the way. So keep up the fantastic work and never stop learning.